after the sudden death of both her parents in a horrific car accident on the Lekki-Ipe Expressway, 9-year-old Adaora's life spiraled into darkness. Her father, Chief Easy, a well-known businessman in Lagos, had remarried a woman named Remy just a year before his death. Everyone thought she was a godsend, soft-spoken, elegant, and devoted. But all that changed the moment Adaora became an orphan. With no other known relatives to take her in, Adaora was placed in Remy's care. They lived in a spacious duplex in a quiet estate in Lekki. At first, the neighbours noticed nothing unusual. From the outside, it looked like a normal household, a grieving stepmother raising her late husband's daughter. But behind closed doors, Adaora's life was anything but normal. The moment the funeral rites were completed and condolences stopped pouring in, Remy's true colours emerged. The warmth in her voice disappeared. The fake smiles vanished. Adaora quickly went from being a child to being treated like a housemaid. Her room was moved from the cosy guest room upstairs to a cramped, windowless box-like store beside the kitchen. She was no longer allowed to watch TV, touch anything in the living room, or eat the food prepared for guests. If Remy had visitors, Adaora was instructed to stay out of sight. At first, Adaora thought it was just grief speaking. Maybe her stepmother was just angry. Maybe she missed her dad and didn't know how to show it. But weeks turned to months, and the mistreatment only got worse. Remy began locking the fridge and pantry. Adaora often went to bed hungry, surviving on soaked gari or stale bread. Her school uniforms became tattered, her shoes worn out, and Remy stopped giving her pocket money. Sometimes she didn't go to school at all, especially when there was no one around to notice. It wasn't just physical deprivation. Remy made sure Adaora knew she was unwanted. "You're not even my child," she'd hiss. "You think you're special because your father pampered you? He's dead now. Let's see who will come and save you." Despite everything, Adaora tried to remain hopeful. She prayed every night, asking God to bring her aunt from Enugu, or that someone, anyone, would see through Remy's lies. But nobody came. Then, one Sunday afternoon, something strange happened. Remy's friend, Mrs. Oji, brought 2 foreigners to the house. A man and a woman, both white, well-dressed, and smiling. Adaora had just finished mopping the kitchen floor and was hiding in the corridor when she overheard their conversation. "She's a sweet girl," Remy was saying, her voice suddenly warm and sugary. "It's just so sad. Her parents died in an accident. No family left, no one to care for her. I've been doing my best, but with the economy, I just want what's best for her." The woman's voice was soft, concerned. "She sounds like the perfect child for us. We've been looking for someone to adopt. Do you have any papers? Photos?" "Oh yes," Remy said quickly. "I've handled everything. All the legal stuff is sorted. We just need to finalize and get her passport ready. Honestly, you'll love her. She's beautiful, well-behaved, and very smart." Adaora's heart dropped. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her mind raced. Was her stepmother really trying to give her away? That night, Remy came into her small room holding a plastic bag. "Pack your things," she said bluntly. "You're going to a better place. Somewhere you'll be taken care of. I've done you a huge favor." Adaora tried to protest. "I don't want to go anywhere." "Who are those people?" "You don't have a choice," Remy snapped. "You don't belong here anymore." 2 days later, under the guise of a weekend trip, Remy took Adaora to the airport. With forged documents and a well-rehearsed story, she handed Adaora over to the couple, collected a thick envelope of cash, and walked away without looking back. Adaora kept turning around at the terminal, hoping Remy would come back, hoping this was some kind of mistake. But she never did. That was the last time she saw Lagos, the last time she heard her name in a familiar tongue. She left Nigeria confused, frightened, and heartbroken. Meanwhile, Remy returned home, her conscience buried beneath designer bags and champagne brunches. She told her neighbours that Adaora had gone to live with relatives in Canada. No one asked further. Life moved on. With her new money, Remy upgraded her lifestyle. She traveled, partied, and mingled with the elite. Every time she looked in the mirror, she told herself she did what was necessary. That Adaora was just dead weight. After all, who would ever come back to expose the truth? 15 years had passed since Adaora was forced out of Nigeria. She had grown from a terrified little girl into a confident and brilliant young woman. Now 24, she returned to Lagos, not as someone seeking answers or revenge, but as a keynote speaker at one of Africa's biggest tech conferences, hosted in one of the most prestigious hotels in Victoria Island. She was the founder and CEO of a fast-rising international tech startup that had taken North America by storm, specializing in AI-powered solutions for education and finance. Life in Canada had started rough, but things changed dramatically after she was adopted by the Harrisons, a kind couple who had been trying to have children for years. They gave Adaora everything she had been denied: love, security, education, and most importantly, the space to heal. Her brilliance began to shine early. She skipped grades, earned scholarships, and launched her first coding project at 17. By 22, her company was already attracting global attention. But no matter how far she soared, Nigeria remained in the back of her mind. And now fate had brought her back, on her own terms. The hotel lobby was buzzing with activity on the morning of the conference. Banners and screens displayed the names and faces of featured speakers. One banner at the entrance carried Adaora's face, sharp cheekbones, calm smile, and her name in bold letters: Adaora Ease, founder and CEO, MindSpark Technologies. Beneath it read the tagline, "From Orphan to Global Visionary, Rewriting the Future of African Tech." Behind the reception desk, Remy was arranging name tags, barely paying attention until a passing guest pointed at the banner and said, "She's the one I came to see." Incredible story, they say. She used to live in Nigeria. Remy looked up and followed the guest's gaze. The moment her eyes landed on the banner, her hands froze. Something about the face tugged at her memory, though it was older, sharper, more refined. She stared at the name again. Ize, her late husband's surname. Her heart skipped. It couldn't be. Still, she forced herself back to her duties, pushing the thought aside. The past was buried. No one had ever questioned her story. She told herself it was coincidence, someone else, just a name that sounded familiar. But she couldn't shake the unease brewing in her stomach. Later that afternoon, Adaora arrived at the hotel, dressed in an elegant fitted suit, her natural hair styled in a bold afro. She moved with calm confidence, her security team trailing behind as cameras flashed. As she passed the reception desk, her eyes met Remy's. Time slowed. Remy stared, her mouth slightly open, heart pounding. The resemblance was undeniable now. The eyes, the lips, even the way she carried herself. But no, it couldn't be. That child was supposed to be gone forever, swallowed by a distant country and a new life. Adaora paused just slightly, enough to let her eyes linger on Remy. There was no anger in her gaze, only a cold, steady calm. "Good afternoon," Adaora said, her voice low and clear. "It's good to be back in Nigeria. It holds so many memories." Remy nodded nervously, unsure of what to say. "Welcome, Ma." Adaora smiled faintly, then added, "I always wondered what happened to the people I left behind." Life has a way of circling back, doesn't it? Then she walked away, leaving Remy rooted to the spot, her mind spinning. The voice, the tone, the eyes, everything was too familiar. Her hands began to tremble slightly as fear wrapped around her throat like a scarf. She didn't know yet, but she could feel it. Something was coming. Something she thought she had buried in the past. And this time, it had a name. Adaora Ize. The final day of the Lagos Global Tech Summit arrived with a sense of anticipation thick in the air. Delegates from across the continent filled the grand conference hall, eager to witness the much-talked-about closing keynote address by Adaora Eze. Her name had dominated the event all week, not just because of her revolutionary tech solutions, but because of the quiet strength and mystery that surrounded her. She had charmed panelists, mentored young entrepreneurs, and moved effortlessly through high-powered networking sessions with an aura that drew admiration and respect. Remy sat in the back row of the conference hall, barely holding herself together. Since their brief encounter in the lobby days earlier, she had been haunted by the look in Adaora's eyes, the familiarity in her voice, and the name she had never imagined hearing again. Eze. It had to be her, but Remy couldn't bring herself to believe it. She kept trying to convince herself it was coincidence, a cruel trick of fate. Yet deep down, she knew the truth. And now, as she clutched the event program in her trembling hands and stared at the large screen bearing Adaora's name, her stomach churned with dread. The lights dimmed, and the Master of Ceremonies walked up to the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, to close this incredible summit, please welcome a woman who has redefined what it means to rise from adversity. Adaora Eze. Thunderous applause filled the hall as Adaora walked onto the stage in a stunning white jumpsuit, her posture regal, her expression composed. She looked out into the crowd, her eyes briefly settling on the back of the hall where Remy sat stiffly, then back to the sea of eager faces waiting to hear her speak. "Good afternoon," she began, her voice firm and clear. "It's been an honor to share space with so many brilliant minds this week, but today I want to talk not about tech, but about something much deeper: identity, pain, and power." The hall fell into an attentive silence. "I was born here in Lagos," she continued. "I had two loving parents. My father was a businessman, my mother, a teacher. But one rainy night, a car accident changed everything. I was 9 when I became an orphan. That loss was only the beginning." She paused, letting the words sink in. "After their death, I was placed in the care of someone who was supposed to protect me. A woman who wore the title mother, but carried no love for me. She was jealous of the affection my father gave me. She starved me, locked me away, treated me worse than a stranger. And when the chance came, she sold me off to foreigners for money. Like a discarded object, gasps rippled through the audience. Phones came out, cameras zoomed in. In the back of the hall, Remy's eyes widened in horror. Her breathing grew shallow, all color drained from her face. "But life," Adaora said with a faint smile, "has a strange way of rewriting our stories." She walked slowly across the stage, her voice unwavering. "The couple who adopted me gave me what she never could: love, education, a sense of worth. I went from being a forgotten child to founding a global company. I've stood in rooms I never dreamed of entering. And, through it all, I've carried one memory with me: the face of the woman who let me go so easily." Cameras flashed toward the back. A few heads began to turn in Remy's direction. She looked down, unable to hide. Her hands trembled violently as her worst nightmare unfolded before her. "And today," Adaora said, her voice softening, "I want to thank her." The room went still. "Yes," Adaora nodded. "Thank you for breaking me, because in that breaking I found myself. Thank you for letting me go, because in being lost, I was found by people who taught me how to love and how to lead. Without your betrayal, I might never have become who I am." She turned and looked directly at the camera, and indirectly, at Remy. "There's power in forgiveness, but even more power in telling the truth. My name is Adaora Eze, and I am no longer anyone's victim." The hall erupted in thunderous applause, standing ovation following as Adaora gracefully stepped down from the stage. As she walked toward the exit, people reached out to shake her hand, to touch her shoulder, to thank her for her courage. Remy could no longer hold it in. Tears streamed down her face, her body racked with sobs. The cameras caught her expression, hollow, broken, ashamed. But Adara didn't look back. She didn't need to. She had said all that needed to be said. There was no malice in her heart, only closure. And as she walked out into the sunlight, the world followed her story. A tale of injustice, transformation, and ultimate triumph. Social media exploded with praise. News outlets ran headlines, and Adaora's journey became a viral symbol of resilience and justice. She had returned not for revenge, but to reclaim her name. And she did, with dignity, power, and peace. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more teachable and inspiring folk tales by FE.